Welcome back to Strongman Personal Finance, everybody. My name is Christopher Belly. I'm a certified CPA accountant. Well, I just stuttered there. I'm a long-term bobblehead investor. I'm author of the book Stop Being a Broke Loser. It's on Amazon. And I have a very special guest today. He's also a certified CPA. Or you are a certified CPA, right?
Certified, yeah.
Certified CPA. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't
introduce
buy my
yourself,
license at
Andrew.
Walmart.
Huh?
Licensed in Nigeria.
Oh, that's right.
Remember that?
I think that was the first comment I ever made on your channel.
No, I know. Hey, that was my own fault. Doing a video on tattooed trucker's taint. That's what you get.
Yeah, dude, I saw
my God.
CPA and then I saw tattooed chef and I was like, oh no, please God, no.
Mhm.
I just had to leave that comment, but it all worked out. Now we're best buddies.
Exactly.
Anyway, so
now you're
tell
getting
us
all my
about your
business
YouTube
insights.
channel.
So basically just go over stocks, right? Personal finance, all that good stuff, a little bit of tax, what's going on in the market, share some of my business insights on it. But right now, mostly around stocks, right? Because I'm trying to grow my channel. And, I used to be an auditor back in the day. So I used to look at financial statements and basically rip them to shreds. So now I figure I could take that and apply it on YouTube and get a lot of hate for it.
Well, so I've heard these
Basically what
rumors on
happens.
YouTube. Like I read my comments, and a lot of people say accountants have no idea how to invest. Could you
Yeah, that's
explain
stupid.
why people think that? I don't understand.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I see. I have to be careful what I say about financial advisors. Not that it's a scam, but they don't understand financial statements like we would, right? Because that's what our accounting exams were around. Were financial statements, GAAP, tax, all that good stuff, business law. So who's going to understand that better than anybody but a CPA? I mean, it's just, and you have to prepare financial statements, right? As a CPA, it's typical to prepare financial statements for at least even like small business clients. So of course you're going to know how to analyze them if you know how they're built. A lot of these people who are on YouTube with freaking 300,000 subscribers, I watch their channel and I'm like, how the hell do they have any qualification to be making a comment on a stock? And, a lot of these guys are story investors. And that's one thing that's really got me riled up lately is I'll do a video and I'll basically say, I don't mind investing in companies that are not profitable, but as long as you know that you're investing a tiny amount, like I'll get comments and people will say like, oh, I put 20K in this stock. I'm like, are you freaking stupid? What are you doing? Unless you're a millionaire, what are you watching a CPA with 1,000 subscribers on YouTube? Then if you're a millionaire, you already know what you're doing. So this is telling me people are kind of going all in. So I don't know. It's crazy, but yeah, I think we're one of the most.
I 100% feel you because, we've both been trained to look at financials. You have more practical experience than I do. I've only been in public accounting for like 6-7 months. But even I, just looking at these clowns, looking at financial statements, some of the analysis is insanely simplistic. Like they'll literally just go look at the cash balance on the balance sheet and they'll say, wow, they have a lot of cash. That's really good. And that'll be the extent of their analysis. It's like, there's more to a company than the freaking cash balance, you freaking clown. But that's what's popular on YouTube, at least recently. But I think there's going to be a big sea change if this bear market persists. I think a lot of people are going to be looking for answers about why their garbage stocks went down.
I agree. No, I definitely agree. It'll be interesting, even my own investing methods. Now, I've always had most of my money in ETFs. When I first started on YouTube, I thought I was one of the geniuses that, could triple their money on, more speculative stocks. But quickly I realized what the hell happened in February of 2021. Now, I had a lot of friends in the market. And daily, I'd be like, you should sell. You got to sell. Like in stocks, like, I don't know if you heard of them, like Ocugen, Sundial, stocks like that. And I had an account, just to give you a clue. It went from $5,000 to 35,000 in like 3 weeks. Doesn't make any sense at all, right? Doesn't make any sense. You got to sell when that happens. But anyway, so that was because of their printing money, basically, in my opinion. And that doesn't last. You can't keep investing in unprofitable companies. Now, in my case, I got lucky. I had $5,000, but out of my total investments, that was like 5% of my total, worth or total amount invested between my wife and I. So it wasn't a lot of money. Plus, you have to look at it as how much money are you making per year, right? Now that money I could make back in a month. So I didn't care in discretionary income. Not in total income, you have to look at discretionary. So I didn't see it as a huge risk. And I got, like I said, I got lucky. But some of these people, this is like their life savings that they're dumping because they're watching some of these YouTubers. So I'm glad I found your channel because you really introduced me to VT. And I just took a look at the GDP to market cap for other countries. And I looked into VXUS. I've been investing in that a little more heavily just because once I saw what you were talking about, I was like, oh man, the US stock market could be significantly overvalued still, which is crazy. You just got to zoom out.
I think it's got way, way, way more to fall. I mean, it's common sense to me. You look at the numbers: 60% of the world's market cap, 25% of the GDP. That makes absolutely no sense. And our country's not growing that fast. We're growing at like 1 or 2%, in real terms. So people to just keep buying US stocks 100%, like they're going to keep going up forever, you're freaking nuts. But, only time will tell. I mean, there might even be another couple years where US stocks outperform. But if you're looking 10, 20 years out, there's going to be a period where US stocks are going to get crushed. And another great example is looking at Japan. Japan got freaking wrecked. They had this huge boom in their stock market and real estate market, I think in the 70s or 80s. And then all of a sudden, everything collapsed.
Yeah, oh, Jesus. It still hasn't recovered.
Collapsed. Yeah, so people that bought in at the top have not recuperated their money after 30 freaking years. That's crazy. So that's my warning to people, but you don't have to listen to me. I mean, we're just boring CPAs. We don't know how to analyze the cash on the balance sheet or something like that.
Right. I try to tell some people that, like, I had a client that sold a corporation for like $500,000, and we're moving it through an installment sale into a 401k over 5 years. And their financial advisors that I work with, they had them in really risky stuff. And I'm like, listen, guys, this is their only money. Like, what happens if this is like a Japan situation? If these guys are 70 years old, you can't have them basically, you think everything's at a discount right now, but what if it isn't? Like, what are people doing?
70 years old.
70 years old. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, why don't you, I was sitting down with them, like, why don't I see your statements? Now, I don't want to overstep. I'm like, do not tell the advisors that I'm doing this. But, I said, I'm huge into stocks, and your allocation at that age, I would think, 20% stocks, 80% bonds or something, or something really safe, right? Mostly fixed income. I mean, it's simple. And it was like 80% stocks. And I'm like, Jesus, if this never recovers, these guys will never recover their money in their lifetime. And they built this corporation over 30 years. So it's just crazy.
Was it all US stocks too?
I think there was some emerging markets in there, but it was still like, it was still 80% stocks. And I was just like, I don't know. You guys make me a little nervous. It's a lot of money. And it depends on the person, right? It's not like they had $3 million already. So you got to look at those things. So,
I mean, the amount of income, like I hate financial advisors. I mean, you don't have to say anything you don't want to, but I freaking despise financial advisors. And I used to be one for about 2 months. So I know exactly how it all works. And I can tell you they are not qualified in the slightest to pick investments for you. You only have a very surface level knowledge of the basics of the stock market. What's a bond? What's a stock? What's an option? But you have no qualifications to analyze stocks, and you have barely any qualifications to determine somebody's asset allocation. Usually in big firms, they actually have a back office that reviews the financial plans to make sure they're appropriate. The advisor that's facing you is just a trained salesman. They're there to sell you mutual funds, loaded mutual funds, whole life insurance, and their wealth management services that cost you 1%, 2%, 3% per year potentially. That's
crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
So
I'll look at people's statements when I do taxes. I don't know. I'm sure you do too. And my first thing is I look at how much in fees they pay. And I'm like, Jesus, if you're paying 3% in fees, it's criminal. It doesn't even make sense. they're following the same model based on a person's. I don't know. It's kind of bad. But my word of advice to you is if you ever want to start your own business, you're going to have, how do you say it? You know how you got to play the game in the corporate world to move up? You got to kiss people's asses and all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, financial advisors will be one of your bigger referrals if you work well with them. But if you actually found somebody who knew what they're talking about, right? If you found somebody who seemed like they knew what they were talking about by kind of questioning a lot of things that they do, and you'll see their statements as they come in. I have two that I refer to. Really only have one that I refer to. And it's only really high net worth people that I think that they're going to do a good job with. But the small guys, like, that have 100K, I'll tell them, hey, open up a SEP IRA or a Roth IRA or traditional IRA and just buy indexes. It's not very difficult. Just average in, and that's all you got to do. So
like one idea I have, and we've talked, eventually I'm going to have some kind of tax business. I don't know if it's going to be a full-time thing or if it's just going to be a side hustle. Whatever happens. But I have the idea of like, why can't I be a CPA and be a licensed financial advisor? So I really have to do some research about how much it's going to cost to get that set up. Because I know there's a lot of regulatory hurdles and stuff like that. But potentially, if I could be both, I think that would be brilliant.
Because I could be the broker.
Taxes. Yeah, well, yeah. So you have to be licensed to like actually sell people's securities. So or even like make recommendations or stuff like that. I mean, obviously, like I know what I'm doing, but I'm not licensed. So all I need is that stamp of approval, and I can say, "Hey, I'll be your tax accountant, and I'll be your financial advisor, and I'll put everybody in freaking VT, basically."
You would actually make bank doing that. I've had like 5 people in the last year ask me if I would do that. I'm like, I just say, go check out these couple of YouTube channels. You can watch mine. And I said, I share my SEP IRA portfolio, which is really freaking boring, on a monthly basis. And, you'll see the ETFs that I invest in on those. I can't recommend stocks, but the ETFs, if it's other people's money and they're betting, I recommend ETFs, right? My own money, I'm willing to take a bet, but I can't. They asked me if I can run their retirement accounts. I'm like, first of all, it's kind of scary to me to do that. I have a good gig as it is, right? From where I've got myself in the market and where I live, at least, it's kind of a smaller town, and all the CPAs are dying off or retiring. And I kind of saw this coming when I was doing taxes and bookkeeping, and now it's starting to come to fruition. But for you, being a young CPA, like I'm 30, I've been doing this since I was 21. You're what, 32?
I'm old.
Yeah. So it's actually an advantage now. When I was like 28, people were like, "Oh, this guy's 28. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing," right? Even if he's got a license. And what happened is, it's kind of sad, man. But their CPA would die, and they'd be like, "No one's taking any clients." So I'd be taking clients, and my fee, I think, was somewhat reasonable, right? It's a little bit more than TurboTax, and I adjust up. If I were doing a return like you told me about the other day, a return like that, I'd have to price out differently, right? Because it would take a lot more time than just a cut and dry. But yeah, so you could definitely pull in a lot of clients by jumping on that niche. I think a lot of CPAs are retiring right now. And my thing is like saying this on YouTube and putting it out there, for all these people to see. There's going to be some people who are going to come into the market and be competitors because they're going to see that it's lucrative, right? But by the time they do, it takes like 6 to 8 years to become a CPA, really, and get your name out there. So by that time, you'll be the guy, right, with the reputation already. So it doesn't matter. But the CPA industry in general is in freaking trouble. It's in trouble bad. There's no one that I know is going to become a partner at any of the firms around me. I even had a guy like the other day from Canada call me, and he's like, "You just did some work for one of my Canadian residents. He owns a corporation over here that I do some stuff for." And he's like, he's got like a $3 million accounting firm. He's like, "I want to refer people to you." He's like, "There's no one else." Like the guy I'm working with, 62, he's going to die. Like, first of all, I like this guy. He's 35 with a $3 million accounting business. I mean, I don't think he just acquired that either. I think he said he had built it up from scratch. So
Yeah, I think the best way is to eventually start your own business because, like, I mean, you've
it
worked in
is.
public, and I mean, were you in one of the big four?
Oh no, no,
No.
nope. I hate the big four. The big four is a bunch of bull, honestly. Like it used to irritate me. So I went to a local state university, tried to save as much as I could on tuition, and they pumped becoming a CPA. And for a while, I thought it was a bunch of nonsense. I was like, you don't need to be a CPA, right? Then I started seeing like the salary difference. I'm like, all right, I'll try for it, right? And they pushed the big four. And I saw like the salaries, and the salaries were like, I don't know, 60K starting, but you had to work friggin' 100-hour weeks. And like, I'm not gonna be able to do that. I'm married. Like, how am I gonna be able to do that? And first of all, they're not even near where I live. I'm like, if I have this, I did the math. I'm like, if I have this many clients, I'll make 60K just off of taxes. So $200 average tax return, 300 clients, 60K. Easy as that. And that's probably working 20-hour weeks during tax season. If you're only doing 300 clients, which is pretty good for 60K, right? A year. You have the whole rest of the year off.
Month of work.
Yeah, yeah. So I saw that and I'm like, nope. So what I did was I took a job in Vermont, yeah, with all the liberals over there. And that was fun. So I worked over there as an auditor of not-for-profits for about 2 to 2.5 years. I didn't do any tax, but I was running a tax gig on the side because at first, when I was in college, I took an H&R Block course, and I was like, I'm going to get paid to do taxes while I'm in college on the side, right? I did 135 returns my first year when I was 20. I think it was 21 or 20. Then I was like, this isn't that hard. So I started doing them for free the year after. Then after that,
You're a saint.
yeah, did them for free a year after that. I only did like 20 returns. And then I got my name out there, started charging like $20 a return. I wasn't a CPA back then, though. That's the difference. If I was a CPA, I could charge, $100 plus for a basic return to start. Like, I'll do a return, it's one W-2 and it's $125 and I'm done in 45 minutes. Now I have to meet with them, obviously, and all that, but it's $100 an hour the way it plays out. Everything I do will be $100 an hour. But anyway, no big four, did auditing. That is what allowed me to run a tax gig on the side because I wasn't competing with them, right? Wasn't taking any of their clients from them. So I learned the auditing, which, by the way, I'm going to be getting into probably in the next 2 years because I have some good stories about like $50,000 audits that I worked on where CPAs weren't so ethical about their fees to me, and not appreciative of some of these CPAs in my area. But anyway, so let me run that. You saw the numbers, 4 years ago, I was making like $8,000 off of my business. Then it went to 22,000. Then it went to 56,000. And then this year, I'm already projected before today signed. I was just telling you I don't care. They don't know who it is. So I signed a $24,000 contract today. So I was at 100,000 with tax season for the projection for this year. So now I'll be at 125. I have another big boy client coming on at the end of this year. And then tax season as a CPA, you can bet I've had about 60% growth, at least every tax season in revenue. Now going from 22, I think it was around 20 actually, 22. I'll have to look at the statements again. 22,000 to like 48 in 1 year is a big difference, right? It's hard to grow. If I grow 50% or 60% next year again, it's gonna be harder to keep that growth up, right? It's just like the stock market, really.
It's just like Tesla,
Right. Everything just 10x's. Eventually one guy can only bring in so much. But the thing is, I got a guy that works on a mountain. He works on a mountain. He's not a CPA. He's been referring people.
Like, what does he do on this mountain?
He does taxes. And
I was like,
I don't
wait, he goes up to the mountain and does taxes?
yeah. There's a lot of guys that work. There's correction officers that work on this mountain at a state prison, right? And this guy used to work at the state prison, and he built a tax business as not being a CPA, and he would charge like subpar rates, right? He's got like 2,500 clients, and I'm like, if I even acquire, I know, like I have 260 tax clients, and then I have about 10 contracts on a monthly basis, and those contracts are more right, than my tax business to diversify my income. But anyway, so my tax business, I still think will completely blow up over the next 3 years. And this guy, if I even get half of his clients, if you do a $200 average return times even 1,000 returns, is 200 grand. And that's nothing. There's a lot of people in this area that I could still get. So it's crazy. And the thing,
Are you
the
looking at hiring
title,
people?
yes. Yeah. So
You're actually going to start like your own practice. You're going to be like the one. Well, I guess you wouldn't be a partner. You'd just be by yourself. So
it depends. If you move to New York, maybe I'll have a partner.
I am not moving to New York. I'm sorry. I'm staying right here.
Man. Yeah,
those tax rates up there. So I've done a couple like New York returns, and they have like city tax, and they have Yonkers and the other part of.
Oh, it's a ripoff.
Like this
locality tax on top of state tax, on top of the property taxes. My house taxes a year are like almost $7 grand. Property tax. Add that on to income tax, 5 to 6%. Add that on to sales tax, 8%. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But
well, then again, but it's also lucrative for you because there's so much tax crap up in New York.
There is
probably more people looking for a CPA because I hated doing New York returns, even like super simple ones. You have to like apportion the income. It was such a
it's awful. We have a lot of people that work in Vermont but live in New York, and I have to do a lot of those, and those are awful. But yeah, so I forget what I was saying before that. What was I talking about?
Ramping up your business. So
So 2024, we're going to build an office, probably about a 1,500 square foot office. I only have about $20,000 of income to go. So about another 2 contracts. After that, I feel comfortable taking on debt, basically, because I don't want to rent. I think renting is stupid. It's going to be like an investment property, right, where I can hopefully sell it as is. And I'm thinking about hiring. I'm also thinking about renting out half the space to like a financial advisor that I work with to supplement the mortgage on that property. But we'll see how that works out. Really, I need to ramp up a business. So this year, what happened was through nepotism, my mother-in-law, I hired her to answer my phone for me. So I bought an extra cell phone, ran the business through the cell phone. She answered all the tax calls, which thank God she did. So there's a lot of people who want to call, the older people. Everyone else, all the millennials like us or younger people like us, they book right through my app. So I use Square Appointments. I have that attached to my Facebook page and to my website. So people can book an appointment, pick my business hours time, pick the service they want, tax prep, hour and a half, or they could pick drop it off. Bam. I was getting like 10 to 15 drop-offs a day, at my average returns 185. So most days I was making $1,000 a day. Working,
if you have pretty good rates, because I'm not going to say what our rates are, but your rates are actually pretty reasonable. So they are. If you pay a CPA $185, you're getting a steal right there.
Right. That's average, right? It's average. I have some, I do corporations. If I do a couple corporate returns for the same owners, that could run $2 to $3 grand, because you saw my rates, $600 for a corporate return starting price. So it kind of depends on what it is, but it's really, none of it's that hard. I don't think it's that hard anymore. After doing it for 8 or 9 years, I realized it used to feel a lot more overwhelming, but it's not. And it's very lucrative. Like I said, corporate return, if I make $800 on it, maybe I spend $5. So it's still about $100 to $125 an hour.
I'm starting to get over the overwhelming phase. Like when I first started doing, the corporation's books and like tying their balance sheet and stuff like that, I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? But like you said, after you do it over and over and over, it gets easier and easier and easier. I'm getting better at QuickBooks, which is what I wanted to do with, my current experience. So another question I have is, are you like operating from home? Are you renting something like a tiny office? Like where's your workspace at?
So this is why we want to build an office. Like for a while, they come into my home, right? So that's a lot of people to come into my home. So my dining room turned into an office. So my dining room is worth 125 grand a year. It's freaking stupid.
My wife would kill me if I had people coming into the house.
I know. That's the thing, though. I was working for a not-for-profit for $34 an hour, and then I'm doing a business for $125 an hour. So we knew where to go, right? But just kind of got to make that sacrifice to get through. Now I could have rented an office a little while ago, but it would have ate up my profits. That's the thing. And I get a massive write-off from my house, for my home office deduction, and all the stuff I can write off. So, but yeah, I've had some creepy people come in my house lately. So just kind of like, I got two daughters, man.
Covered in dirt. Hair
Yeah, like
up.
I got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and there's some guys that come in, they're like, "Where's your daughters?" And I'm like, "None of your effing business." Like,
hey, can she sit on my lap? Is that okay?
yeah. I'm talking about like how he's like a biochemist in the military or something, and hasn't showered in like 2 years.
He's not watching right now.
Oh, if he's watching, don't come back, please. For God's sakes, man, don't come back. Oh man. Anyway, so yeah, I run it out of my home. He probably doesn't have internet. Like he was writing things down, like his conspiracies for me. So he definitely doesn't have internet. But so I have a Dropbox.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but like I think you mentioned it briefly. It seems like the older clients are the ones that are like their returns are way more complicated. They're way more disorganized, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah,
and you have to basically meet them in person. I mean, I'm still so new at my firm that I'm not front facing the clients at this point. But it's all the freaking old people that are coming in. I know it's not that bad. I like it. I just do the returns, and then somebody else deals with talking with them. But you kind of get that experience where it's mostly the older people they have to come in. They don't know how to access their statements on the internet. Like they're a freaking mess. You kind of get.
Oh, they are. Or they have like 9 statements, and it's like, just consolidate your accounts. What are you doing with like 9 different statements? But the millennials are great, actually. That's where I've tapped in. And I'm getting them access to coming to a CPA, because millennials are the type that won't go to a CPA because they think it's not that hard. TurboTax will do it for me. And then I see them 2 years later and they claim their kid as an other dependent instead of getting like the child tax credit. I look like a hero because I get them like $3,000 back per year that they missed. They got a $500 credit, say, instead of $2,000 credit. So, but millennials are great because they schedule themselves on the app. They take care of everything. What they do usually, it's hilarious. I have a Dropbox on my front porch of my home. It's under surveillance. I can send you what type of Dropbox it is. It's about $300. It's called an elephant Dropbox. And it's got it looks like a post office one, right? It's got a pull down lever, drop your stuff in, locking chamber on the bottom. So each night I go in, pull out my returns, go prepare them the next day. But anyway, these guys, the millennials, would just drop off. So it was like, easy money. In a way, I mean, it was work, but it was easy money. Didn't really have to deal with them a lot. I'll text my clients, not financial information, but I'll say, hey, your stuff's ready for pickup. They love that. I like that, man. I got 2 kids. I don't have time to be on the phone constantly being like, oh, when can you come pick up? Be like, go to the app. Your return's ready. Go to the app, set a time for pickup. We'll talk for 15 minutes. That's it. So drop off, if they want to drop off in person, 15 minutes. They want to pick up, 15 minutes. If they don't want to meet me at all, they can do a phone.
Hello? Do we lose me or do we lose him? Hello?
Service. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Come on, man. You can afford that light speed internet. Let's go.
I do. It's like 1 gigabyte per second internet through Verizon.
Maybe it's me. I don't know.
Yeah. I try to get good internet for streaming, but anyway, so yeah, I try to minimize the amount of time that I'm contacting the clients and we're not face to face. So that does help it become pretty profitable. But the one big thing is, you saw my hours. I give you a breakdown, my contracts, my hours, tax revenue versus CPA revenue. It's about 1,300 hours a year to, make about 125,000. And, a CPA is about 90% profitable. So like you would have saw wages on my books, right? What I've done is I started to just pay myself because I have payroll software and it's free. It's free to process. So why am I going to bother with estimating my taxes? Just let the payroll software do it. Just run it through my company. It all works out the same. A lot of people think it's illegal to do that. It's actually not. You can do
To
that.
pay yourself a wage, yeah, you can definitely do that.
It's the same thing, right? It all flows through. It decreases your profit and loss, but you have a W-2 to input into your 1040. So it works the same exact way. So it is nice to do that though. I just started doing that because my taxes this last year were pretty awful. I didn't pay any estimated taxes because I have kids. I've never had to pay in. So I came really freaking close. It was bad.
Oh, I'm
I'm not doing that this year.
taxes because I had it. So I'm mostly like W-2 wages, but I had my tutoring business that was 1099. I had YouTube money. I had book royalties,
Oh
and
man,
I was paying like $1,500 every three months. And this year I'm actually paying I'm paying $2,000 federal every 3 months and like $250 state because I think and it's a huge pain in the butt because you have to estimate how much you're going to make. Your bottom line.
That's
your
the
tax
pain.
liability. I freaking hate. I don't know how people do that, to be honest, because I kind of screwed it up a little bit last year. This year, hopefully, it's a little bit better, but it's a massive pain. So if I ever get into the self-employed CPA business, which that is definitely the plan, especially after listening to some of the things you're doing, I'm gonna really consider just copying everything that you're doing.
Yeah, you should. What you should do is start out with taxes. What happens is I'll have people come to me for taxes, right? Especially the big corporations. When I meet with them, I'll bust my ass to make sure that their return is tip top perfect, and I'll try to be as fast as I can, right? Because the acquisition cost to get them on, if you don't get them on, you could potentially look at this one client. I could be out $23,000 every year for the next 30 years. So, this client that I just signed on today, they came to me for the first year and they're like, yeah, another CPA actually referred them to me because they're like, I can't do it. So when I saw their stuff and someone was doing bookkeeping for them in Florida and they're based in New York, I'm like, first of all, they're using paychecks. I'm like, I'll do your payroll. I'll let you do it weekly if you want for the same price. Actually, I'll probably save you about $5,000 a year on payroll. And I've done this multiple times, right? So you do like a service where you have all of it in one. So you get them on as a tax client. Then you say, do you want me to do your bookkeeping? Because your taxes will be done, in like beginning or end of January, beginning of February. You won't have to deal with any of the nonsense of trying to fit yourself in, getting an appointment. I already have all your numbers. And I'll do your payroll for you. And then I'll also estimate your taxes for you. So that's another one. And sales tax too. If you have sales tax, I don't know what Virginia has, but New York State has 8% sales tax.
We have lots of taxes here too. Trust me.
Yeah. So when you price those things in, it's not hard to get up to a $20,000 contract. Like the one I just had, it was two corporations, two real estate holding companies, just so they have to pay self-employment earnings on part of it, right? That's how they're going to flow it through. So four companies for bookkeeping, two companies for payroll, two corporate returns, two partnership returns, 23,000 a year plus, and that includes W-2s, 941s. Now I use Gusto Payroll. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's for accountants. It's a little more expensive, but they do everything. It's like a millennial type of software. That's my thing. Like you don't have to do much. You type in the hours and they process everything. It's automatically debited, all of that. Now it doesn't integrate with all QuickBooks stuff. You kind of have to spend time to do that. I haven't done that yet because I don't really care. I know how it works and I could spend like 15 minutes just putting it into the books, whatever. But when you do that, that's how I've sealed the deal on some of these bigger contracts, because you tell them, hey, it's going to be 23 grand a year or 1950 a month on this contract, but you're saving $400 a month because you're not going to this person for paychecks, paying paychecks $1,000 a month. You're not paying $500 for each corporation. So you can actually save a lot of money. Now, you don't have to be like a salesman really. But you just throw it out there and then just act like you don't really care, because it doesn't really matter.
What do you do about getting your clients organized? Because so here at our firm, we have them sign an engagement letter. We actually mail them out an organizer, and they're supposed to organize it and send it back. They usually never do. You kind of have the
It's a
same
weird.
process where you mail out an engagement letter and have like an organizer, or do they just literally just drop off their forms to you?
No, people hate that. Every person I've taken from a big firm, which has been happening more lately, they hate that. Like, I don't see the risk in doing an engagement letter for somebody who's a 1040 making $100,000 a year. Now, I will have corporations sign an engagement letter, or partnerships, or bookkeeping clients, or anything like that, or specialized services, or like write-up services, that kind of stuff. But for like a sorry, I just saw "Don't open the door." Just hilarious. That's hilarious. So for those people, I don't do an engagement letter. I haven't had time. I was working a full-time job while doing it. Now that I'm fully self-employed, maybe I will. As I have people work for me, maybe I will. But people hate a lot of paperwork. So you kind of have to be careful. The organizers, I thought about doing them, but dwindling it down, because I've gotten that complaint when people come to me. They're like, "Oh, I went to this firm and I don't understand what I was paying them. $900 for my return. First of all, it's a basic 1040. I charge them like $250 to do the return. It's crazy." And it didn't take me more than an hour and a half to do, really. So I knew they were making a killing. And they're like, they made me fill out this whole organizer, and they just take the information, put it in the return. I'm like, I don't need an organizer. All I need is last year's
checklist, because like we have a checklist where we go through. Did you contribute to charity? Did you do this? Did you do that?
I have a checklist for myself, and based on their situation, I ask them. But some things I don't ask them on. Yeah, that is the risk of not doing an organizer. But again, some things you have to put on the client. You can't possibly ask them every single thing under the sun. Did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? They got to know at least some things. And we're only talking about first-year clients, right? Returning clients are easy because you just look at last year's. I do scans. I scan all of their documents with like a Fujitsu ScanSnap scanner, and I have a cloud-based system that I scan all their stuff into. So I have no paper at my household. Everything's backed up to a 4 terabyte hard drive and in an offsite location as well. So I can easily look at last year's documents. They don't have to bring last year's taxes. I have the return. I have all the backup that I save. So for those people, I can see if something's missing. And then the software I use is not, do you use UltraTax?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. I won't use UltraTax. I refuse. Because
I mean, I don't have any experience with other software, but I'm actually starting to like it because I've had a decent amount of
it's how do I say it? It's a workflow problem on that. It does not workflow the way it should, in my opinion, because I used to use it at other firms while I was I use Tax Act Professional. Now, it's about half the cost, but it's like a TurboTax for a professional. So I can do any return in the United States, basically, with it, unlimited. And it costs me about, I think it's $1,600 or $1,800 a year now.
So they don't charge you per return. You just get the subscription.
No.
You pay. Okay.
Right. And I've talked with Creative Solutions or Thomson Reuters to get audit software just recently. And they said, "Oh, what about UltraTax?" And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to lie. It's not super user friendly. And do you charge per return? And I believe she said yes. And I'm like, yeah, I get unlimited returns, and the checks and balances in the system that I use are amazing. Like, it's super user friendly. It's like a beta software. It kind of looks like a beta software. It doesn't look like old school 90s software. That's my problem with UltraTax. Like I said, I've used it to do like 990s and stuff. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. So, I mean, maybe it's a good software. It integrates with Creative Solutions. I believe that's, if I'm right, it's been a couple of years. So you can like integrate your trial balances and stuff, right? The trial balance, if you code it right, it automatically.
So we have accounting CS. So accounting CS will
there you go
directly input into UltraTax.
Right.
Which actually makes it easy. It's like I'm much better at doing the financial side, but when it comes to actually like putting the crap inside, the 1120 or whatever, that's where I'm kind of like, oh, I don't have as much experience in here. But UltraTax just does it all for you. It imports it. You just got to check if there's no warnings, errors, and you're good.
That's exactly what my system does. So it has diagnostics. I think that's what it's called in UltraTax, like diagnostics. So it has that, which works out great. It just, I just prefer it. I can move a lot faster through a return. I've noticed. I've definitely contemplated, but I don't think I'll make the move. The only other one, I can't think of the name right now. The guy, I want to say it's like Dragon something, but there's another software that I've checked out that I do like. But now at this point, it would be so hard to move people's returns to a new software. They really got me hooked. So hopefully they don't change it too much. But yeah, it's nice. The 1120, I can actually take like a trial balance in Excel and just move it right into and import it into the tax return. So it's the same thing.
Wow.
It's just there's no accounting side, right? Accounting CS, you can have like work paper CS. You can have like an audit tied to the trial balance, tied to the tax return. So it's a whole suite, which that's next level. It's really next level. But for like the little guys, nothing. I would do 100% Tax Act Pro. You can start out with the $500 version where you do pay per return and just do the math. That's what I did when I first started. I think once I was making over like $8,000 off of taxes doing tax returns, it made sense to move to an unlimited. And then as I did that, I was able to buy the complete unlimited version that was even more expensive. That got me like 1120s, 1065s, and all that. Because those, I'm getting a lot more of those now. And that obviously those are huge. Those bring up your average a lot. If I get an 1120 for $6,800 and they're a new client, they bring me from say 260 to 261, my average is going to go up a lot more from say like 185 to like 200 from a return like that, rather than going from 260 to 261 and having like another $150 return. It's not going to change my average. So I've seen that a lot. My average has gone up like $50 a return in the last 2 years, which is nice. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but that Excel document I sent you, if you play the numbers,
quick, you can make some serious money. It's
yeah, crazy. You got to keep your rates reasonable. You got to for those people, and you can always hire. That's my thing. Like, I've talked about my wife working for my business. She's a teacher. That'd be tough. It'd be tough to give that up because she's got a pension. But at some point, I'm like, I could teach her to do payroll or things like that. So yeah,
even with the pension thing, like most pensions aren't that great. And if she helped you make a ton of money, you could actually like use that money to invest it and probably make more than what the pension would be paying. I don't know what pensions they have in New York. Maybe they're better, but you know, in general, you can actually invest your own money in my opinion to make more.
Yeah, and I've done the math. Like that's a lot of people's argument. They're like, "Whoa, what you can do for a pension?" I'm like, "Well, first of all, pensions aren't guaranteed." Well, it's New York State pension. No, it's not freaking guaranteed. I don't care what you say. Yeah, dude, it's unlimited money. Like, no, what happens when there's a lot of people drawing and there's less people contributing and it goes under? So there's a pension fund in New York State called Teamsters, and it's tattooed truckers. Right? It's actually truckers, and they went under. People's pensions went from like $50,000 or $60,000 a year down to like 25. Just snap of a finger.
What people don't realize is the pensions are also investing in stocks and bonds. Yeah. You could do that yourself and have probably much lower fee. If you just bought freaking VT and some like a bond ETF, you could probably have way better returns than your stupid pension will ever get you. And pensions are also more conservative because, you know, they have a lot of retirees drawing out of the system. So they're going to have a much lower stock allocation than you could as a young person. So I think pensions are trash. I have a federal pension, which if I actually didn't cash it out, I could get like some kind of pension in retirement. I'm going to rip the whole thing out. It's like 14, 15 grand, and I'm just going to throw it all into VT. And I'll probably have way more money than, waiting for that crap to pay me in 30 years.
Yeah, I that's my thing. I'm like, people will give that argument. I'm like, well, if say she makes 90 grand as a retired teacher in 30 years. Okay, cool. Her pension will be 50,000. That's $1 million in the market today. 50,000. Well, let's say 1.5 million to really not touch your balance. Now, if you do the math, if you start doing it now, like I've done my math, I could put away 3 million with what I'm contributing right now. I think it's like, if you do 750 a month for 30 years, is something like 3 million with a 3% inflation adjustment. So obviously 3 million in the future would be compared to about 1 million today if you do the present value, right? So that's what you'd want today. Saying 3 million today is a big difference than 3 million in the future or whatever. So it's comparable. I'm like, so I have to put away, if I did that, I'd have to put away 3 million. So it's a possibility, like I said, to have her work for me down the road in scale, but it's hard. It's also going back to what we were saying. It's hard to trust people too. I just don't really know anyone that I think will bust their butt enough unless I pay them a per fee per return kind of arrangement rather than by the hour. Like tell
dude,
somebody,
I learned very quickly that I want to be fully self-employed. I hate being an employee because there's no motivation to try super hard, because no matter how hard I do my tax returns, and I mean, I still do my job and I try to do a good job, but no matter how hard I work or how many returns I get, I'm only going to get my set freaking salary every year. Whereas if you're self-employed, like I'm on YouTube all the time, trying to pump out videos, I'm working hard, I'm thinking of new things, you're a lot more motivated to make money. So
you are.
And I do not want I never want employees. I mean, maybe I'll employ my wife. I don't know how she'll feel about that.
She'll pay you.
Never want employees.
She'll pay you some other stuff.
Oh, hey, as long as I have to pay her a wage, that's fine with me.
yeah, exactly. It's illegal there. When I was working for this guy, right? So my first job, I got paid like $49,000, I think. Yeah, to work 2,080 hours a year. It's like $22 or $23 an hour. Moved back to New York, worked for another guy, right? Busted my ass, completely busted my ass. I'm like, I'm going to make partner at this firm. And I really thought I would until I got my bonus. And I was like, this is a joke. He paid me 47. So I took a pay decrease, but also I didn't have to travel, pay ferry costs, all this other stuff. So it was an increase, even though I was taking a $2,000 decrease. And I saw how much money he was making on some of these returns. And when I worked on a $50,000 audit for a huge construction company and ran the entire audit myself, not as a CPA, and literally all this guy did was sign off, and he could lose his license for this. I don't really care because he's a dumbass. He pulled me in, and the client said something to him and said, "This guy's like, he's already done auditing." I'd be like, "Yeah, I did my procedures, right? There are audit programs that tell you exactly step by step what to do. Followed the procedures, did the sample sizes that I was supposed to do. There you go. Charge your fees, right? Done the audit. It was clean. We're good to go." Well, he pulls me in his office. He goes, you gotta go back to the client and just do more work, because this is basically your whole salary is this audit, and we can't lose them. Like, I'm gonna have to charge him less of a fee, and we can't afford to. Meanwhile, this guy's got a $500,000 house on the lake. Shut the hell up. You're a liar. You're a liar. You made 50 grand off this audit. And I almost quit that day and almost went to the client and said, "This is what's happening, just so you know," and turn this guy in, because I thought it was just like, it's almost like grifting, honestly. It's so unethical. That's one of the big things as CPA is you could lose your license for not being ethical. So you have to be, he wasn't being ethical, right? And so what happened was I was an auditor, worked for this guy, worked overtime basically throughout the whole year. Then it got to tax time. He's like, "I'm going to start having you do tax returns too." Wanted me to work more overtime. And I'm like, no. Everybody else got Fridays off. I had to work plus overtime, do all these audits for you. And now you want me to do taxes. Like, I already got a tax business. I don't want to do taxes for you. Like, not really my problem. You hired me as an auditor. That's what I want to do. So they were pushing me, right? And so I applied to another job for like a $6,000 raise, which I was stoked. Wasn't going to have to work any overtime. Was going to be paid by the hour in a union. No matter what you think about unions, at least I'm in a union getting paid hourly. So if they try to make me work more, I was getting paid like $50 an hour to do overtime, which is awesome. So I knew it was going to pay me way more. Yeah.
I wish I got that this year.
Yeah. And this is the job I just left, making $85K without benefits. I had free health insurance, which paid, there were no copays. The health insurance was like a $25,000 policy on each person.
Holy crap. What company is this? Maybe I'll fill in the role that you left.
No, I can't say, but it's still way more lucrative to work for myself, even beyond that. And that was eye opening. But now I want to go back to that guy who paid me $47K and be like, "These are the clients I took from you, just so you know." And just to piss him off, because he fired me, dude. He fired me that night. I told him I told him, I said, I'm giving you 2 months notice because it's tax season. Or maybe it was, yeah, I think it was 2 months notice. And he's like, turn in your keys. Because he was butthurt that I wouldn't work overtime for him during tax season. I refused to because I was already working overtime throughout the year as my job or as my title, right? And I want to go back to him because he bashed my business on Facebook one day. He's like a 60-year-old CPA. It's so ridiculous. He's like, what a joke. And I'm like, I don't think it's a joke.
Like post on your Facebook page or something?
I was advertising for bookkeeping, and the joke's on him because that advertisement, I think I spent like $100 on, and I got a $13,000 contract off of it. It took a year. It took a year. After this person saw my bookkeeping ad, I did a little bit of just reviewing of their books on a quarterly basis. Then it turned into a $13,000 contract. So again, people are it's just ridiculous. My point is, this guy was paying me $47K a year, working 2,080 hours a year. I bet you I was pulling in $200,000 of fees for him, but I'm getting paid. And then my bonus was $100. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, no.
What? $100?
Yeah. $100. You know what my bonus was
for
tax
bonus,
season?
but it was more than that. I can tell you that.
I took a $15,000 bonus for tax season this year. Like, I'm like, this is a joke. Like, how many returns did you process at your firm?
Probably 200 individuals and maybe 30 to 40, corporations.
Oh yeah.
They made a fortune off me. Because like at our firm, we actually have a timer. So I can see how much we're charging each client. I'm like, oh man, so they just paid me this much for an hour and they made this much. I was like, oh, this is brutal. I mean, but I like my firm. I have nothing against them. And I don't think they charge crazy rates, but if I can make that rate myself, it's like, that's a big motivation to,
I saw that too. Yeah. $100 an hour is low for a CPA. So my plan down the road is to adjust it up to a max of $250 an hour. Maybe by the time I'm 40, I don't really care, honestly. All my contracts got a 3% build into them. So I don't even have to question it every year. Their fee goes up by 3%. I think that's fair. If my expenses go up more than that, I think that's on me. And maybe I need to reevaluate with them down the road. But one problem with being a self-employed CPA is you're gonna have a hard time trying to raise people's fees. I learned that pretty quickly. So I said at the beginning of every year, 3% raise. So if I'm making $100,000, I can at least guarantee myself I'm going to make 103, 107, 115, or compounding. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. But
so what are your concerns about liability? Like, my paranoia is, and I'm scared now when I do returns. It's like, oh, I forgot to check one box and I screwed up somebody's entire tax refund. What are your concerns about getting sued, and how do you mitigate that risk? Do you have like insurance, or do you just triple check the forms, or like, what's your thing with that?
Everything gets double checked. Always enter everything first, crank right through it, enter everything first, then go back through it again. Then print the return to PDF, review it at a high level after you do that. So I literally look at every form twice. That's what I do. That's how I mitigate my risk. And then I have professional liability through the AICPA. It's about $500 a year. It's not that bad for at least my income level right now. I'm sure it goes up a lot as your income goes up. You have that checklist. You can do a checklist. The first few years I did a checklist, and now I've kind of gone away from the checklist, at least this last tax season, because I was just like, there's no way I can check off these stupid boxes that I already know I have to do on every single return when I'm going through it. Maybe in the future, I can
imagine exactly what to check. I mean, even just doing taxes for 6 months, like I got so familiar with tricks. It's like, okay, it's not that bad. As long as you scan the form and you know what to look for, I mean, you're probably going to get it right.
Oh, and you'll know too. You'll know if you're off. I found thousands of dollars in mistakes on prior returns of people who came to me, because what happens is we have to be analytical as CPAs as well. We have to explain to a client. You'll see if you meet with clients, you have to explain to them why their refund is different. Some people are ridiculous. They want to know like a $300 change. So you got to come up with the math for that. Sometimes that takes time. But if there's like $1,000 difference and you can't explain it, it's going to make you look like an idiot. So that's mitigation in itself, right? Then you're like, oh crap, like I got to figure out why they're off by $1,000 from year to year, depending on their worth, right? If they're a millionaire, $1,000, they're gonna be like, I don't really care, right? But if they're typically get back like $2,000, they're getting back $1,000, they're gonna want to know why on that, because they're gonna think you're wrong.
I've noticed this year that a lot of people are getting a lot of not refunds, but they owe money, and a lot of it is capital gains. A lot of
it was bad.
Yeah, they have a huge sale of stock, and they're like, "Oh, why do I owe money?" It's like, well, you just sold the stock for a $30,000 gain. That's probably why you do it.
Yeah, mine's really my self-employed people who do what I do or what I was doing. You know, you making 80 or say you're making $60,000 to $100,000 off your main job. You're running a side business, right? And a lot of these people, they don't have a freaking clue about finance at all. Like, I don't want to say any specific industries, but say they're blue collar, right? They're doing blue collar work and they're pulling in, I don't know, 60K of profits on the side, and they don't pay any taxes on that. And then they come to tax time and they're like, here's my taxes. And then I tell them they owe $20,000, right? On self-employment, $60,000. That's nothing, right? 30%. 30% is nothing on self-employed income, especially if it's a side job. So that's kind of not really fun. But you have to really explain that stuff. So
anyway. Well, that's one of the benefits of going to a CPA, because a lot of people, they have their side businesses and they think they can hide it. Well, now they have the 1099Ks, the forms where if you do on the apps, no, you can't get away with like paying crap on the side. You got to freaking pay your taxes or they'll come get you.
Some people some people be like, I had 2 people this year. One was sitting right in front of me like, I'm gonna delete these invoices, and I'm like, you better not do that. You better not do that. Like, what are you doing? Are you dumb? Like, you can't delete invoices. Like, it's already
realize, like, if you get a 1099, whoever gave you the 1099, they're also reporting that to the IRS. Like,
well, not even. I'm not talking about 1099s. I'm saying you deposited that money to your account, right? I'm not trying to tell people how to avoid taxes, but usually what people do is they accept cash, right? They don't go out and buy anything with that cash. They pocket that cash. They put it somewhere else. They spend it going out to eat or something in their personal lives. That's how a lot of people, especially in my area, that's what they do, because it's kind of a small town and they think that they can avoid taxes. And I'm just like, claim it all, because guess what? You go to get a loan and you're hiding all of your business income. You don't have any income. Good luck getting a loan. Good luck having Social Security if it's around when we retire. If you're showing
great function that we have in the United States.
I know. I'd rather take my freaking 6.2% and put it in the market. My gosh.
Well, I mean, with self-employment tax, you're paying a lot more than that. You're paying basically double that.
Well, that too. But at least, I'm saying Social Security because Social Security is at least income generating after, like the Medicare. I guess, you're getting some health benefits and all that, but.
Oh, hold on. We have a super chat. I have to celebrate.
You're the man. You're the man if you owe 22,000. Good job. That means you made a lot of money.
He's all in Tesla. He probably took some profits, but you got to pay taxes, ladies and gentlemen. You can't get away from it. So I do have another question. Now, I've noticed there's clients that they have QuickBooks, right? And you open the QuickBooks and it's just a complete and utter disaster.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
And when I was like, I'm still pretty decently inexperienced with QuickBooks, but when I first started, I was like, what is this? Like, they had like expenses under cash. You know what I'm saying? Like, they misclassified everything. Do you tell the client like, hey, go to a freaking bookkeeper and fix this? Or do you just kind of like, you do? Or do you walk them through?
That's how I make my money. I look at their books and I'm like, I used to be more shy about it, but now I don't really care because I didn't want to lose any clients, right? When I had less clients. Now I'm just straight up with them and be like, listen, you got to come to me outside of tax season. We got to fix this. And sometimes it'll turn into like a quarterly thing. And I'll make like an extra like $400 a quarter. Just looking at their, and that stuff's fun. I don't know about you, but that's fun to fix stuff because they see value in it and it makes you feel really smart. Well, they usually mess the book bad. It's
I
like a
was doing
puzzle.
like a QuickBooks today, and I finally found this like discrepancy. I was like, "Ooh, I finally figured out what's causing the error here." So, like, yeah,
Yeah.
if you enjoy puzzles and solving mysteries, that's kind of what clients' books are. It's not cookie cutter clean like you get in school. Usually, they're a freaking train wreck, and they don't make any.
They're awful unless you do them. See,
Yeah,
I have some crazy ones. I have a guy that he's got a lot of money, and he's got like rentals and like a ranch, all this other stuff, and four partnerships, right? And so I do a consolidated partnership statement for them. It's like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, honestly. That's how I know I'm a nerd, because I built it from scratch. And when he saw it, he was like, "This is amazing," because no other person I worked with would have that. They would just roll it all up into one company, right? So how would I know if I sold any of my series LLCs? How would I know what's owed to each partner within each LLC if it's all in equity? You have to split it out, right? So things like that I find really fun, and it
Wait,
brings
they don't
value.
have like separate capital accounts for the different partners?
When they started it, no, their bookkeeper quit. They saw it, they were like, "I quit." This
So they just
guy,
have like a retained earnings balance, and that was it. They didn't split
that
it
was
up.
it. They didn't split it up, and this guy's in Texas, and he goes to me, and he was just like, "Can you do this?" I'm like, "There's nothing I can't do. I'll never think there's anything I can't do." That's how I got into everything that I do. That's how I built a successful business. Is if I didn't know how to do it, I researched it. The only thing I don't do, honestly, is estates and trusts. And that's because I'm still scared to kind of do them, but they're lucrative too. So I'm going to be researching how to do those. And I'm going to just dive in. But what I'll do is, what you do in those situations is you tell the client, "Listen, I don't have a lot of experience in this, but I'm researching it. I'm qualified to do it. But you just got to give me time, right, to work with me. You just got to be transparent about it." And what I found is the couple clients that I've told about that, they're like, "Hell yeah. Like, if you give me a discount," which I will,
Yeah, you
"I'll give
kind of
you a
have
discount
to.
what I
Like, oh,
would
I don't know what I'm
charge."
doing, but sure, full rates. Yeah,
Yeah,
it definitely seems like trust is still
$1,000.
big money. So, is there going to be a point where you
They
decide
are.
to get rid of your individual clients? Like, let's say you have a bunch of different, businesses, corporations that you're doing bookkeeping, taxes for. Is there ever a point where you think you might say, "Hey, I don't have time for individual tax returns anymore"?
Oh man, my clients have been saying that for a while, because I have a lot of clients in like their 40s and 50s, and their main reason to go to me is they know I do a good job. I care about them, right? I let them text me throughout the year if they want to, which doesn't really happen a lot. For those people, I don't really want to shit on them and say, "Go find somebody else now and pay a lot more." So I want to keep them. It's just, that's my point of, I don't think I have a choice but to scale. And I'm trying to get people in my area actually to do this, right? The CPAs to actually be like, "Go out on your own and just do it." Like, because I don't think it'll pull too much from me. I think there's too much work in the area to all come to me. That the way that's playing out, there's two big accounting firms in the area that have like 16 to 20 employees, and they don't have many young people working for them. And I don't think many of them are going to take it up to go to partner. When that happens, they might shrink down. People might go their separate ways. And then what happens is there's all these sole proprietor CPAs around. They're all like 60 or 70 years old. There's not a single CPA that I know that's under 40 years old. So I have a good niche. And I just think that everyone's going to want to go to me, and I'm not going to be able to do it. So I got to find somebody who knows their shit, right? At the same time, that I can trust, that isn't going to take my clients from me and run at the same time, because I built a brand too. There's almost like
You
a
should probably
brand
hire
around
like
it.
a virtual CPA. I mean, there's so many. I mean, a remote CPA, not a virtual, a remote CPA, because there's so many people that want to work remote now. You could hire. I mean, I'm not saying me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with New York, but you could hire somebody that lives across the state. They'd probably be happy with working from home, and they might know their stuff.
It's tough though. It's still tough trusting people, because are they going to care? I don't know. And they make a mistake and I don't catch it. It's on me, because I'm signing the tax return. That's what's tough.
Yeah, I
So,
mean,
and
well, that's
what
why I said
level
I
of
never
income
wanted
are you
to.
happy at, right?
What's up?
Yeah. What level of income will you be happy at, right? Like mine, honestly, $200,000 a year in New York State, both people working, like $200,000 a year for me alone, that's more than enough. I could put away so much money in the stock market and go on vacation. I can have like decent cars, although I don't really care about that. We don't really have anything. We just have a house and cars. So we want to go on vacations, and that's really it. When you don't have a lot of huge wants, a number like 200,000 gets you actually a long way. Now, when you get to that point though, I think personally I could have this business. This sounds crazy and stupid, but I think this could be a $500,000 business in 5 years pretty easily, actually. By the time I'm 35. What?
You ever think about selling it at some point?
Yeah. Again, I don't know. It's a reputation thing. If I sell, it looks like I shit on all my clients. They've trusted me.
Okay. Because if you're making that much money, it's kind of like analyzing a stock. Well, it's like, if I bought a business, here's how much profit I could make every year. Well, I'll pay you $3 million for it.
I worry about that. See, there's another CPA that in the area contacted me and was like, I want to sell you my business for $70,000. And I'm like, okay, like send me your breakdown. I don't really want to spend 70 grand right now because I'm about to go out on my own. And I don't want to take it on because I actually took my kids out of daycare and saved 17 grand a year too doing that. 17 grand a year, people, to put 2 kids in daycare. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So anyway,
my wife stays at home. We don't even do that crap.
It's crazy. So I'm like, I could do a job making 120K and take care of my kids, save 17K and do that. But I was like, if I take on this 70 grand, it's out. Like if I have to buy this practice for 70 grand, I'm going to have to send them back to daycare. There's, disrupts our daily lives a little bit too. Like we have a lot more time not having to bring our kids to daycare and all that. But anyway, I'm like, if you're retiring, I'm going to get your clients. I'm going to get your clients anyway.
That seems like a very low number for like 70K for an entire practice.
It is. Yeah. It was a sole proprietor.
Not a profitable practice, or is he making good money?
Well, I was like, when I looked at it, I'm looking at my own fees. I'm like, mine's a side business and I'm making more than this. This person's full time. They're like, well, 1 year's fees, I think we'll start at, right? As a starting point to negotiate. And I thought about, I'm like, what do you have for clients? And it was like 190 tax clients, a little bit less than me in every category. And I'm like, your fees, I told this person, I'm like, your fees seem low. And I'm like, that seems like a problem because if I come in and I buy it for 70 grand, which I could if I wanted to, but if I do, I'm gonna have to charge them way more. And what I would probably charge for that amount of income would probably be like 110,000. And that wouldn't be, what would happen is I'm only going to get 70 grand of income off of it. I'm not going to get all those clients. They're not going to want to go to me because they're used to paying.
So you're saying if you paid 70 grand, you would get 70 grand per year.
Probably
that's
raising my fee.
If you think about that like a stock, that's actually a massive return.
It is a massive return, but it's your time. That's the other thing. I want time. I'm so sick of working 16-hour days, 7 days a week. Like I just need a freaking break. So I'm like, I don't want to do this right now. Plus, I think I could just grow slowly. Plus, you get into liability issues. I take on that many clients at once. Holy smokes. I had 100 new clients this year. I couldn't take on another 190 in one season. Like I'd make mistakes. Then I probably would get sued.
Holy crap. Hold on a minute.
Yeah. Hey, why didn't anyone super chat you the other day? I freaking said I would pay $50 to anyone who'd super chat $50. Everyone thought I was kidding, and I wasn't. I wanted somebody to pay $50 so badly.
Me, man. You should. I mean, you're making all this money now. You should have given me like $100. A little bit of charity.
That would have been cool. I don't really care.
All right, everybody check out Jay Nagy. This is me and Jay Nagy go way back. We were the first 2 people on the live stream. We started like live streams like a year and a half ago. We'd have like 4 people watching. Everybody go check out Jay Nagy. Huh?
He's awesome. He's funny.
He's a hero.
Oh yeah. $20.
Making money doing that. YouTube, baby. Thank you, Miguel. Yeah. Appreciate it very much.
Someone had a good comment. They said, sell that 70K to a partner. That would have, yes, I thought about that as well, but I didn't have anybody. So I got a guy, he's just like strongman. I have this natural attraction to strong men, like strongman in the military. I get this guy who's going to college and I'm trying to get him to become a CPA because I think like I can trust him, right? And he's got the same sort of humor like you and I, where we don't really care what people think. We just do what we want. And I'm trying to get him to become a partner with me maybe down the road. That's what I would do. That's a great point. You could just sell the 70K to a partner. I could fund it and then he could do a loan through me. We buy it that way if they won't fund him.
10% interest.
Yeah. Well, there would definitely be interest. Yeah, for sure. Not giving up 70K for nothing. Usually though, what happens is people don't require the 70K up front. What I found, they'll do an installment sale over like 4 years where you just pay them like a monthly and then they get interest as well, 4 or 5%. Any good comments in here? Any questions?
Yeah, let's go through some of the comments. There's so many freaking comments. I don't know if you saw any earlier, but there's like 100,000 comments in here. Man, there's going to be a point. If my channel gets really big, I'm going to have to freaking do like the thing where you have to sign up and pay $1. Just
yeah.
It's so freaking crazy. That's when I become a true grifter. Oh, here's a good one. What does Lafufu flavored tofu taste like? I don't know. Dave Ramsey's pissed at you, Andrew. Why is Dave Ramsey pissed at Andrew? Oh, here's a good one. I think this guy's studying accounting. You should give him your opinion. Oh, did we lose him again? Did we lost him again? Well, personally, Mohammed, I'm more biased towards tax. I freaking hate audit. Are you back?
Still hear me?
Yeah, you there?
All right, there we go. Did you already answer it?
On this comment. I mean, yeah, so my opinion is tax. I hate
all of
all
of the above.
He says all the above. He's done this way more than I have. So did we lose? I think we're losing Andrew here
again.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm getting tired.
What's going on?
Sabotage my internet. I mean, it could be me. I don't know. Can somebody tell us if it's me or him? Let's see.
Hold on.
My staff is predicting.
Maybe it's this.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
There.
Maybe I had something open. You guys were cutting out on me. So tax versus advisory versus what was that? Audit?
Yeah, audit, tax, advisory.
Yeah, audit pays well, but it takes a long time. That's the problem. A lot of audits I worked on were like $20,000 to $50,000, but they take like a month to close out. So, and they're a big deal. I don't know. There's a lot of butt kissing in it, which is kind of annoying. You have to have a reputation for a while before you can do it. Tax, easy. It's quick money. Advisory, you got to do advisory. You kind of have to do advisory if you're a CPA, or you're going to lose clients because they're going to go to somebody else to get advice. So I have people they'll sign up for like $100 an hour sessions or $75 per hour sessions to either talk about their books or retirement or things like that, taxes, all that good stuff. So you kind of have to do advisory, and then you can either do audit or tax, or you could do both.
Yeah, I mean, with me, like I have zero audit experience. I literally just took the exam. I had one class in college. So I don't think I'll ever do an audit for anybody because I have no idea how to actually do the procedures, any of that stuff. So,
dude, it's high risk.
Yeah,
you could lose your license like overnight if you do like a Department of Labor audit for a 401k and you do it wrong. That's serious because that's people's retirement money. If you're not doing the procedures, making sure they're not ripping off investors or participants in the plan, I've seen it. I've saved one guy really. From losing a CPA license when I wasn't a CPA by implementing a new software, but it does pay a lot. The only problem with audits is the startup costs. It probably cost me 20 grand to start doing audits, but I could easily make 80 grand probably in like a year off of it.
Why would it cost you 20 grand to start?
You got to buy you don't want to go paper version. That's the first problem. You go paper version, you run into a liability issue. So if you go electronic versions, like through Thomson Reuters, right? They have audit software that are electronic versions of audit programs. All of that tells you what to do step by step, right? And then if the other problem is why it's so expensive is you have to pay another CPA to review your work. So you either have to have a partner or you have to get a contractor to review your work and sign off. Third, so that's one expense or another expense. You get the software, you get the additional CPA, then you get peer reviewed every 3 years if you're doing not-for-profit companies, or if they get government grants, single audits. Now we're not talking like auditors that you guys see on the stock market. They get audited every year if they audit over 100 public companies, I think it is, which that is expensive too. Because if you fail a peer review, you're no longer allowed to audit. So you could lose that money overnight. So I'd rather put my money somewhere else at the same time and fill up my schedule doing that. No risk, or a lot less risk. You mess up a client's tax return, maybe they don't come back to you next year. Maybe they do sue you and it goes through your professional liability. I've never had that happen or anything like that, but that's one client. Maybe you're out $1,000 tops. But if you lose an audit, a client, 20 grand is hard to swallow, I would say.
Yeah, see, I knew I didn't like audit for a certain reason. That just sounds like a freaking disaster. Like the last thing I want to do is build this tax biz or this business, and maybe I'll do an audit, and then I just get wiped out because I screw something up. So,
but the problem is, here's the thing though. I've had people come up to me at events and they're like, "Are you doing audits?" And I'm like, "No." Well, we contacted 20 accounting firms. None of them, but like two or three called them back. One bid on an audit. This was a really tiny audit. I think $6,000. One bid 13,000 and one bid 25. It's like there's that big of a spectrum, but one was out of state. So like the one that was the least was out of state, which didn't make any sense. The one in town was 25 grand. So it's like there's clearly they're full or no one wants to do it anymore because they're scared. They just don't want to do it. So at some point, maybe they're paying 50 grand and it's easy money again. Not exactly easy money, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, but there was no amount of money that would convince me to take on, some kind of liability risk like that. Cause you may be enticed to, I can get 50 grand, but then they sue you and just wipe you out, take out 100, they take 100 grand, 150 grand, whatever. So to me, it's never worth it. I'll stick to my 1040s and my QuickBooks.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you could definitely go that route. The only thing I can say is if you're auditing not-for-profits and they're paying that amount of money, it's lower risk because it's a not-for-profit. They're not paying taxes unless they have a what is that called? Unrelated business income. If they have that as a not-for-profit, then they will pay taxes. Yes. But outside of that, it's low risk. The one thing that you have to worry about is the peer review. And they're hiring you, right? The person you're auditing is the one paying your bill. So you have to keep them happy. So if you give them a modified opinion or something, or not a clean opinion, they're going to be pissed and they're going to try to find someone else next year. And then you're out the money. But you have to be ethical at the same time. That's
the inherent flaw with auditing.
It is. Yep.
They're paying you to look at their books. Of course, you're going to want to kiss their ass. The whole thing is stupid. I hate it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. We got a free question from an experienced CPA. What's this guy going to do, man? How are you going to help him?
Oh man, I had some devastating stock market losses and I reported them long term and negatives on my day trade. Well, what you can do is write off $3,000 per year for the rest of your life until you use it up. That's the best thing you can do, really.
I've seen people that have like $100,000 carry over long term capital.
Isn't that crazy?
It's like what the hell did you sell to lose $100,000?
They bought AMC at the top. Uh-oh.
I have seen people
off now.
I have seen people. It's always the young people too. They have like all the stupid meme stocks. Yeah, the vast majority of them lost a lot of money. There's a couple that made some good money, but the vast majority got freaking wrecked. So all these people saying they made a ton of money.
Have you? No. Well, have you watched any of my videos where I talked about my one client that made a huge return on one stock?
No, I didn't see that one.
What happened? Oh man, this is not financial advice to anyone watching. Okay, first of all, I gotta stress that. Do not do this. But this is crazy. This guy put in 13 grand into a penny stock. And he got in because he knew somebody at the company. Now, apparently it wasn't insider trading. I don't know. And he sold the stock for 1.1 million on 12 grand. Yeah. And he came to me to estimate his taxes, and it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I was only off by $1,000, which I thought was pretty damn good. Because I'm like, if I'm off by even like 1%, that would be a massive amount of money on this, right? So
was he having did he have a bunch of transactions? Like how?
It was
what
one
would
stock.
have made you be off?
Well, worked a job, married, right? So basically what I did is I did his tax return for the future. I did it like it was a tax return to estimate it, because you have like the net investment tax too, right? Over 250K. So you had to take that into account. If I would have missed that, that would have been like $20,000 that I was off. So it was hard on the high level just to be like, yeah, this is what you owe. I couldn't do that. I just couldn't. Not on not on $1 million of income estimated at. Yeah. So yeah, it is crazy. You got to be careful. Andrew, thoughts on Jeremy financial education? Yeah.
He's actually one of my clients. I can't criticize him.
Yeah. Right. No. I think that I think he's lost his way in the market. I don't know. I think he's kind of getting desperate. He's selling his house. I saw, I think he looks really dumb on Millennial Money. I mean, Jesus, after I saw your video, I had to watch Millennial Money, and I'm just like, yeah, they think he's an idiot.
Yeah. I heard he got torn apart on that whole thing.
He did. Oh my God. It was embarrassing. So what he needs to do is he needs to share with people his private portfolio. Like, where do you actually have your money? Let's be real. You have like $10 million and they're all in safety. No one in their right mind. And if he doesn't, he's an idiot. Like, no way.
Dude, I would not be. He has such high convictions for his
And how many times have his friend him, to put stuff in?
Uh-oh. We're losing him again. He's probably got some you-know-what playing in the background. Oh, we got BP in the house. Can you hear us?
No.
Hello?
You're coming back.
Can you hear us? I heard a rumor that if you give me $100 super chat, it helps his internet get better. I'll even give him a donation if you guys give me $100. Can you hear us?
Maybe my wife streaming using all the internet. What's up with that? I don't know if you guys can still hear me or what, but
oh yeah, we can hear you. You're coming back.
Okay.
Slowly.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, we can kind of close it out. I mean, do you have anything else you want to say? You have a YouTube channel, right? You should plug it again. Oh, I think we're losing him. Anyway, he does have a YouTube channel. It's literally in the title of his screen right there. So y'all should go check it out. I'll even post it on my community tab to hold your freaking hand so you can go find his channel. But he's a CPA. He knows what he's talking about. He's got a great YouTube channel. He talks about trash stocks just like I do. But he's a little bit more calm and reasonable, okay? So I would definitely check him out. I think we lost him permanently. He probably got bored. He was like, I'm tired of talking to this clown in his army shirt. I only have 6 stocks and beat VT. Congratulations. Let's see you do that over 30 years, buddy. You need to start bashing Keenan Grace. It's just as bad as the others. He's such a dork. Like, I don't even have... It's not even... he's beneath me. I don't have time to bash that clown. My crappy pipeline stock, Pure Star, is finally becoming good. Pump those gas prices. Good for you. Somebody had a question about the TSP. Recently retired and think about moving my money from TSP cash to Vanguard. I mean, they're both fine. I mean, it's really up to you. I mean, Vanguard has more options. The TSP is very limited. Well, they are making a new thing in the TSP. They're making a new a window you can use to buy other stocks besides the index funds in there. But if you stick to the Vanguard or the TSP index funds, they're fine. The only thing you're not getting is emerging markets. Like, you're not getting China and some other companies that are like countries that are like our traditional rivals or enemies. So, I mean, either one works. They're both low fee. It's really your personal choice. I can't tell you definitively what to do. Yeah, I think we lost him. No. All right. Well, yep. I think we lost him. Anyway, guys. Thank you, Miguel. You've been very generous. All right. I really appreciate the donations. You guys don't have to give me your life savings, but I appreciate any donations. Do I do consulting? I mean, it depends on what consulting it is. I can't give specific. Oh, wait a minute. Is he back? Hello? Andrew, can you hear us? Try turning off your camera if you can hear me. You might be able to come through better if your camera's off. Anyway, I don't know if you're directing this to me or Andrew, but I mean, it depends what consulting it is. If it's like basic tax stuff, yeah, I can do that. If it's like, oh, can you pick my investments for me? No, I can't do that. I'm not licensed to do that. Sadly. Can you hear us, Andrew?
Hello? All right. I think I'm back. I don't know.
You're back. You're back.
I have like the worst internet. Like,
yeah, try turning your
you're
camera
completely
off. It might work better if you turn your camera off.
$20 super chats, pretty awesome. Keep them coming.
Yeah, just keep giving me $20, Miguel. Just give me your whole life savings. But yeah, if you want, if you have a specific question, you can email me and we can talk about it. I mean, you've already given me $40, so if you want to do like a 15-minute chat for free, I don't really care. It's up to you, buddy. Any other questions? So before you got disconnected, I was saying you had a YouTube channel. Could you explain that to me a little bit more? Give one more.
Yeah, so you can watch my YouTube channel, basically to learn how to invest, hear about some companies. Don't get too butthurt if I talk about your stock and I go over the financials and say that it's trash or whatever. Some of these stocks, I'm not going to spend like a ton of time looking at articles and all this other nonsense. Really, I'm just here to look at the financials of the company. Maybe down the road, I'll get into discounted cash flows and all of that too. But I'm taking more of a beginner's approach right now, just having fun with it. But down the road, I'm hoping too that I can kind of explain to people how they can make more money. All you guys watching, definitely get a side business. It's worth it. Protects you in an inflationary environment. Recession protects you. Going through a recession, like I said, just landed a huge contract. So I feel like I'm beating a recession. You could lose your job, lose everything. That's the goal of having, a side business. That's the big thing. So, but anyway,
it was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, man.
We're doing this every Friday now, right? Is that the plan?
Yeah, sounds good to me. As long as my freaking internet works. I don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah,
I'm going to call Verizon.
Be Mr. Rich Businessman. What's going on here?
I don't know what I'm paying for. Some BS.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. Go check out his channel, and y'all have a wonderful, delicious night. Cheers.
Cheers.